So this is the Fluffal deck. We're going to be doing the deck profile for this. It's a very explosive deck. It goes second. You don't really want to go first because you want to OTK your opponent using very strong monsters. It specializes in fusion summoning, making very big fusions and just beating up your opponent. So first off, we start off with 3 Fluffal Dog. He's kind of like your searcher for the deck. He searches out any of the other Fluffal monsters or Edge Sabers if you need him. Then you're on 3 copies of Fluffal Wings. Fluffal Wings helps us get Toy Vendor. It also helps us draw cards. It's just a very good card. It helps us draw, helps us get more cards in our hand so we can combo off more. We run 3 copies of Fluffal Bear. This is what gets us Toy Vendor, which gets us more Fluffals on the board, which gets us to be able to draw more cards, which means we can make more fusion plays and do more. We then run 2 copies of Fluffal Owl. This just helps us fusion summon. That's pretty much all it does. It just helps us fusion summon or helps us get polymerization if we need it. We then run 2 copies of Fluffal Penguin. This card's really good. It helps us special summon more Fluffals to the board, and if it's sent to the graveyard for fusion summon, we get a draw 2, discard 1, and its summon effect, to summon another Fluffal, is not a hard once per turn. So if we monster reborn it, we get a special pack another Fluffal from our hand. We then run the 1 copy of Fluffal Sheep. You only really need 1. You don't really need more than 1. This just helps us do link plays, or if we need just another monster on board to be able to fusion, we have that for that reason. For the last Fluffal, we run 1 copy of Fluffal Cat. I might take out the sheep and run 1 of the octopus, but I'm not sure. But for right now, I like the 1 Fluffal Cat. It's a really good card. When it's used for a fusion summon, it adds back a polymerization, which just helps us fusion summon more. For the Edge Imps, we run 3 copies of Edge Imp Chain, the best Edge Imp in the deck. This guy is so good. When he attacks, you search for another Edge Imp Chain, and if he's sent to the graveyard, you get to search a Fright for Spell or Trap, or a Fright for card. It's just a really good card. You can send it off a Fusion Summon, Toy Vendor, Link, anything, as long as it's sent from the hand or field to the grave, you get the effect. But it is a hard once per turn. You then run 2 copies of Edge Imp Sabers. I might take out 1 and just run 1 Edge Imp Sabers, but I like 2. It just helps you do plays that you need, and it helps me bring out some of the other fusions like Tiger, Wolf, and any of those that I need to bring out. For the last Edge Imp, we run 1 copy of Edge Imp Saw. This is just my tech. I'm just trying it out, see how it does, and it works pretty well. It helps me get draws and helps me unbrick dead hands, but I might take it out. I'm not sure. Like I said, it's just a tech to see how it works. For the last 2 monsters we run 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. You need hand traps, because if you get hand trapped yourself, it don't really work. So you need to be able to, on your opponent's turn, be able to do something just in case they hand trap you, to hand trap them, to make sure that they can't make a board. You then, for the spells, you run 3 copies of Polymerization. This is one of our main fusion spells. You need to run 3. A lot of people run 2. I like 3 because you search it and you can recycle them. 3 copies of Toy Vendor. This is the heart and soul of the whole entire deck. This card is mandatory. Just being able to draw more cards and get Fluffals out and being able to pitch stuff. And if it's sent to the graveyard from the field, or just sent at all, you get to search for a Fluffal monster or an Edge Imp Sabers. So you can just use this, send it to the grave, and then search your bear to get another one, your dog, your cat, your sheep, your penguin, anything you need. We then run 3 copies of Fright for Patchwork. This card just gets Edge Imp to your hand and a polymerization, so it's a +1, and it just allows us to go for our fusion summoning plays and make bigger and more fusions to hopefully OTK our opponent faster. We then run 2 copies of Fright for Fusion. This is a really good card. It just helps us get more fusions out and make fusions bigger. Basically, you banish the materials from your graveyard that are listed on a Fright for Fusion monster to summon that Fright for Fusion monster. I usually use this to go into the tiger to pop a whole bunch, or I use it to go into wolf to attack a whole bunch. So you then run 2 copies of Super Poly. We can use it on our opponent's monsters, or we can use it on our own to get effects off during the battle step or battle phase. So it helps. It's a really good card. I don't really like 3 because then you see it too much, but 2 is a really good number. We then run 2 copies of Call by the Grave because you do not want to get hand trapped. If you get hand trapped with this deck, then you're kind of screwed. It's just not a fun time. So we have this to help combat those hand traps. So we can keep going on with our plays and combos. We run 1 copy of Fright for Factory. Basically, you can banish a fusion spell card or polymerization to fusion summon using monsters from your hand or field. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, we can add 1 banished Fright for Fusion back to our hand. So we only run 1 of it. You don't need more. You can search it, so you don't really need more than 1. We then run 1 copy of Instant Fusion for the Fright for Sheep. This is a really good card as a 1-of. It's limited, so you have to play 1, but it's a really good card. Even when it was at 3, I only played 1 or 2 because I didn't really want to see 3. And then for the last card of the deck, we run 1 copy of Monster Reborn, just to bring back dead monsters, or if my opponent has something that I want, I can take it with Monster Reborn to take it and use it against them. As you can see, we don't run any traps in this deck. You don't really need to. You don't really have time to use them, so there's not really a point. For the extra deck, we run 3 copies of Fright for Sabretooth. A lot of people run 2, but I just like having the 3rd just in case I need it, and I use it quite often. It's just the 3rd one just helps me OTK faster, and it works wonders. I will never run 2. I will always run 3. This card is just too good to run at 2. We then run 2 copies of Fright for Tiger. This card is really good. You just use it to pop your opponent's cards, and it increases the attack of all of your Frightfurs. So it's just good. It's such a good card. Originally I had it at 1, but I needed it at 2. It's just so good. You can't run it at 1. You need at least 2. We then run 1 Fright for Kraken. I want to run 2 of this, but I only have 1 right now, so I'm waiting to get my second one, and then I'll put that in. But for right now, I only have the 1. But this is a really good card. It can attack twice, and it has 2200 attack, so it's already pretty big. And once per turn, not a hard once per turn, you can send a monster your opponent controls to the graveyard, but he can't attack directly. But that's okay, because since it's a not a hard once per turn effect, if you summon him, then send something, then fuse it to make Sabretooth, and then Sabretooth bring it back, it's treated as a different card, so it can still attack twice. And when it attacks during the second main phase, or at the end of the battle phase, I believe. Yeah, at the end of the battle phase, it is flipped to defense position, and it has a big booty. So really good card. I want to run 2, but I only have 1 right now. You then run the 1 copy of Fright for Sheep. You only really need 1. You don't really want to fusion summon this. You just kind of use it for the instant fusion. For the last Fright Fur, or one of the last Fright Furs we run, you run 1 copy of Fright for Leo. This is just another tech to go with the Edge Imp Saw. This is a really good card, and I wanted to test it out. And so far in testing, it did pretty well. I have to do a little bit more testing, but so far it's done pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I'll keep it in, but I might take it out for the new whale that's coming out. We then run 1 copy of Fright for Wolf. You don't need more than 1 because this is kind of like your OTK guy. You summon him and he can attack a whole bunch. So you use him to OTK your opponent most of the time. We then run 1 copy of Fright for Daredevil. I don't really use him all that much. He's just there just in case we need him. I very rarely use him, but when I do, he's pretty good. So this is another one I might take out, but I kind of like him, so I might keep him. I'm not sure. I'll have to do some testing. For the last Fright Fur we run 1 Dangerous Fright for Nightmare. This is a pretty good card. It's just kind of, it helps negate and it helps protect stuff, and it's a pretty good fusion. I don't really use it all that much. It's a little hard to make, and for the resources, you should just make a Sabertooth because it's better in most situations. So we then run 1 last fusion, and that's 1 copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, and that's just use Super Poly just in case we need to fuse our opponent's monsters, or in worst case scenario, we get a whole bunch of Edge Imps and we just summon him off of using the Edge Imps, because he requires 2 dark and all the Edge Imps are dark. For the Link monsters, we run 1 Cross Sheep. This card is so good. This card makes the Fluffal deck like 40 times better. It's such a good card. It just helps us get back monsters that we can then reuse to fusion summon, and we can use him to bring back Fluffal Penguin, and then use Fluffal Penguin's effect to special summon another Fluffal. So it's just a really good card, and it helps us with whatever we need. If we need more Fluffals to fusion, or if we need more Fluffals to Link summon. And then run 1 copy of Borlo Dragon. This is just a game ender if we need it. It helps take our opponent's monsters, and it's just there if we need it. This is the last card in our last Link monster. This is probably one of the best cards we have. This is our main OTK enabler, or one of them anyway, just in case we need to use him. We got Boral Sword Dragon. This is such a good card. It helps so much. If you need if you need to push for game, you summon Boral Sword and he'll usually be game right there. If you need to get over something, you summon Boral Sword and he can get over it pretty much most of the time. And he's not too hard to bring out in this deck, but he is a little difficult sometimes. But when we bring him out, we usually got game. For the side deck is pretty simple. We run 1 copy of Fluffal Penguin, 1 Fright for Chimera. I only run this card just in case we need it. You don't usually want to summon it, but if I'm going against someone and they have like just a fun deck, I'll side this in just because it's a fun card to play, and it looks really cool, and I love it. It's the ultimate, so, and it has a very special place in my heart because one of my very, very good friends bought it for me, and it means a lot. So I will always keep this in my side deck, even if I don't use it that much. And then run 1 copy of Predaplant Triffy Overtone. This is just an insane card. It's really good if your opponent has the resources for you to make it. It's really good, but sometimes Starving Venom is better. So I main Starving Venoms inside this guy, but sometimes I'll side this out for the Fright for Leo or whatever else I need to 7 up for. You then run 2 Mind Control. This is a really good card. It just helps us take opponents' monsters that we can then use for link summoning, fusion summoning, or whatever we need. 1 Fusion Recycling Plant. The side deck is kind of weird, but I don't usually use the side deck, so it don't really matter. 1 Fusion Recycling Plant. We don't really use this card all that much, it's just there. 1 Terraforming to get the Fusion Recycling Plant, but we don't really run it, so this card's kind of dead. 1 Raigeki. This card is just really good. It's a one-sided dark hole, so it's just a really good card, and it works wonders. Speaking of dark hole, you run 1 copy of dark hole. I don't really want to run more because it kills my monsters too, and I usually don't want that, so I only play the 1. We then run our 3rd Call by the Grave here on the side. We don't really want to main the 3rd, just in case we don't need it. We want to brick with a whole bunch of them, but it's always there just in case we do need it. I can side it in depending on the matchup. We then run 1 Twin Twisters. This card's really good. It helps us get over any problematic spell or trap that we need to get over, whether it be Mystic Mine, Monarch's Erupt, or anything that we would need to get over. We then run 1 trap, which is Metaverse. I just needed a filler card, and so I had an extra Metaverse, and I was like, well, we'll put it in there. But I'm probably going to take this and Terraforming and Fusion Recycling Plant out, and maybe you put in some better cards, like when the Dolphin comes out, I'll definitely put him in the main and probably have a few on the side, as well as the Scythe. So that is the deck profile. If you guys have any questions, just post them down in the comments, and I will do my best to answer all questions if I can. Please leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I post any new content, whether it be Yu-Gi-Oh! Or any cool things that I have in the works. So thank you, and bye.